So who looks after the interests of the poor? Certainly not the BJP, is it?
Whosoever is saying is totally wrong, I challenge them that can provide the statistics. They can't.
You managed to remove a judge who was asking awkward questions about your politicians. That's the sum of it, isn't it? India's government is in the firing line at home and abroad, accused of badly handling the coronavirus, chipping away at democracy, and lying about a recent battle between its own troops and Chinese forces in the far north. My guest this week from New Delhi is Sudhanshu Trivedi, a member of the Upper House of Parliament and a national spokesperson for the ruling BJP. Why does his party seem to show so much tolerance to those who fan the flames of communal hatred? Sudhanshu Trivedi, welcome to Conflict Zone. Let's talk about India's response to the pandemic, first of all. Various aspects of your government's response have been massively criticised, both inside and outside India. On March the 24th, your Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, gave Indians just 4 hours' notice of a lockdown, something that one Indian writer called the most punitive and least planned lockdown in the world. What did you expect 100 million migrant workers spread out across the country to do with just 4 hours' notice?
If you want to understand where India stands in this situation, in this issue of COVID, you slightly keep apart China, then we are the biggest nation in the world with 135 crore population, with 70% of the people living in rural areas, with 27% is still illiterate, with 30% living below poverty line. You know, the Indian Railways, every day, 25 million people travel by Indian Railways. So, whosoever is saying that more time should have been given for lockdown, they should consider 3-4 things. Number one, when this pandemic broke out in the month of January, there was only one laboratory in India, which was capable of doing the test. Now there are hundreds of laboratories. So at the time, we were not that much equipped for testing. Second thing, at the time, there was no production of PPE kits because they were not for mass production. They were used only in the hospitals, in critical care unit section. Now, we are equipped with the kits. Second thing, there were very less number of ventilators. Third thing.
Look, I understand, Mr. Trivedi, but millions of workers were left stranded in cities with no food, shelter, money, or means of transport. Did nobody in your government think of that when the announcement was made?
It is, with due humility, I would like to say this is a thoroughly wrong fact. A proper food has been provided to all those wearing the identity card. Even food was provided those who were not having any identity card. Second thing, direct money has been transferred, 2,000 rupees to every farmers, 500 rupees to every woman, and those who were living below poverty line, they were provided gas cylinders 3 months free of cost. This I am talking about only the government initiative.
Well, I'm just telling you that the UN did not buy your comforting assurances. UN experts said just 3 weeks ago, we're appalled at the disregard shown by the Indian government towards internal migrant labourers, especially those who belong to marginalised minorities and lower castes. They said you'd failed to address their dire humanitarian situation, subjected them to police brutality, and failed to stop their stigmatization as virus carriers. You telling me they don't know what they're talking about at the United Nations?
One thing. First, I would like to complain. The 41,000 crore rupees has been provided to 39 crore persons. 8 crore farmers, means 800 million farmers, were provided 2,000 rupees each direct cash transfer in their respective accounts. So there was nothing of this sort. Can you imagine a population of 800 millions? If they are living in rural areas, what could have been a situation if the government has not taken a proper action? And with due respect, I would like to say, all the international agencies, there are certain elements in our system which try to give wrong information to them. There are certain...
Let's talk about some of the bodies within India, because some of your leading medical bodies also trashed the government's response, didn't they? The Indian Public Health Association, the Indian Association of Preventive and Social Medicine, the Indian Association of Epidemiologists. They accused you of incoherent and often rapidly shifting strategies and policies, relying on the predictions of modelers that they said were way off the mark. How do you answer that charge?
Yes. Now I answer. Those who are saying this, we are the biggest democracy of the world. And with due respect, I would like to say, from Eastern Europe to Japan, we are the only surviving, thriving democracy. So Prime Minister has taken consultation with all the opposition members, with all the chief ministers of the state. And when the lockdown 2 was started, prior to central government has announced, 4 Indian states have already announced the lockdown. And the name of the 4 Indian states, Punjab, Maharashtra, Telangana, Odisha, all run by the opposition government. So it was the other political parties in tune with, they were realizing that it is the requirement to lock down. Right now, Tamil Nadu is still having the second phase of lockdown. So it was taken with due consultation with all political leaders. Prime Minister has consulted with the experts. Prime Minister has consulted with the doctors. Even Prime Minister has consulted with the various social figures, including the sports and the religious personalities.
Dr. Trivedi, if that was all true, why, by the second week in June, was the Supreme Court ordering the government to transport workers back to their homes within 15 days? It also told the police to cancel all their charges against those who weren't able to get home by themselves. It's something of a disgrace, isn't it, that the Supreme Court actually has to order your government to do the decent, humane thing that most other governments would do by themselves. So who looks after the interests of the poor? Certainly not the BJP, is it?
The law and order is a state subject. It's 100% state subject. The central government has least role. The health is a state subject. Center is only controlling the central units. So all the state, it was a primary responsibility of the state governments to look after that. Central government tried to support them with money and resources. Unfortunately, because of some mismanagement, some state governments, I'm not accusing all, some state governments were unable to perform that much desired action. That has created a little bit of panic. Some state governments have done very well. They have created a call center where any laborer or migrant labor can register them, give his or her address, and then the subsequent arrangement of their coming back to home, whether by bus or by railways, would have been managed, and the central government has bore 85% of the cost of the railway tickets. 15% was towards the state government. So if there is anything to be said on the part of the government as far as the migrant labor is concerned, it was on the part of the state governments, because finding out the police is on the state government.
Well, here's something that is your responsibility, Dr. Trivedi. Let's talk about food. By the end of April, the Food Corporation of India had 77 million tons of cereals in stock. But instead of giving it to states with very little money, your ruling party tried to sell it to them at market rates. Something which shocked economists. Ritika Kira from the Indian Institute of Management, for instance, said the government's unwillingness to relent and give it free to the states is mind-boggling. They couldn't understand why you were trying to profit from this grain instead of giving it to people who needed it.
Totally wrong. Government has given free of cost to millions of people, those who are not having identity card with them. The government has given free of cost 5 kg of wheat, 5 kg of rice, some pulses, there were the food packets made. So whether it is direct money, whether it is transportation cost, whether it is food, it is being provided free of cost by government, and even the state governments have also cooperated. So with due responsibility, I'm saying, whosoever is saying is totally wrong. I challenge them that can provide the statistics. They can't.
Well, here's a statistic from the Financial Times which reported that of the money, most of the money that was given in extra funding, it was less than $12 billion, or about 0.4% of India's GDP. That's one of the lowest levels of relief provided by any Asian economy. Are you proud of that?
On the contrary, the government of India has provided a relief package equivalent to 21 lakh crore rupees, which is 10% of the GDP. Which is 10% of the GDP.
Well, that figure isn't filtering through to international experts. That's not filtering through. And also, Dr. Trivedi, let's look at the special fund called Prime Minister Cares, PM Cares, that has also brought a fresh deluge of criticism from around the country. The Prime Minister launched this fund with great fanfare in March, received some $1.27 billion in funds, which the government matched. Why so few details on how this money has been spent? And why no official audit from the government auditors, the CAG? What have you got to hide here?
Again, I would like to say, the fund is constituted in the month of March, and the audit is done where? When the financial year completes. Who is saying in the 2 months of the procedure, the audit should be done? When even the spending is not properly completed. 50,000 ventilators, 5,000 crore rupees directly been given by PM Cares Fund. And it is a purely government fund in which the Prime Minister is the chairman, Home Minister is a member, and the Defense Minister is a member.
Nobody from any of the other parties. Nobody from the other party. Why aren't all the documents related to this fund made public? Why the lack of transparency?
Where is the question of lack of transparency? When the financial year ends, then anybody can ask that what was the expenditure and where it was done. And if it is not shown, anybody can ask the question. Let the time complete.
And then it's too late. And then it's too late. Why don't you release the information now? People are giving money. Workers have been asked to give money. Government workers have been asked to give money. Why shouldn't they see where this money is going now?
Government has already given details that 20,000 ventilators have been paid for this. 5,000 crore rupees to farmers have been given to this. Separate details have been given, which the expenditures has already taken place. As in the due course of time, whenever further expenditures will be done, will be provided.
As you know, there's been considerable controversy over the fact that all the people in charge of this fund are from your party, and if it's public money, tell the public what's going on with it. That's the point that people are making to you. You know perfectly well. It's been well reported in the Indian press.
You are misled. It is not run by the members of our party, it's run by the members of the government.
Exactly, that's my point. It's run by members of the government only. There's nobody from any of the other parties involved in making the decisions on this body. Nobody. Nobody. Why not?
Can you tell me any financial body in the government of India in which a member of a political party is there? I challenge. No institution is there.
Dr. Trivedi, it's not just your response to the pandemic that's attracted criticism. Agency after agency has highlighted the falling levels of democracy in your country. I noticed a few moments ago you were highlighting the fact that your country is a democracy. This year's report from Freedom House spoke of the Indian government's alarming departures from democratic norms under the Prime Minister's BJP. It also awarded you the largest score decline among the world's 25 largest democracies in its 2020 Freedom Index. Are you proud of that?
Can you tell me any one fact on this?
The most criticised aspect of your decline has been the passage last December of the citizenship law, which uses religion as a criterion for deciding which illegal migrants can be fast-tracked for citizenship. The measure favours members of all South Asia's religions except Islam, which just happens to be your second largest faith. That's hardly a coincidence, is it?
I will give the answer in two parts. Number one, India is the only secular country in the Southeast Asia. All other countries are Islamic republics. and the persecution of non-Islamic people is very much there. So it was incumbent on the part of us, to being the secular country and the democratic country of this region, that we should give shelter to those who are religiously persecuted. So we have not selected any one community. We have selected all: Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists, Parsis, Jains, all. Second,
the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights doesn't agree with you. He calls the law fundamentally discriminatory in nature. And he should know, shouldn't he? He deals with human rights abusers worldwide.
discriminatory in nature.
Fundamentally discriminatory in nature.
If
yes.
To say that Muslims are persecuted in their country, then we can consider their request. We have given 500 Muslims the citizenship. But if Pakistan or Bangladesh or Afghanistan come and openly say that, yes, we persecute Muslims also, then we can consider their demand.
Why does your party, why is it so brazen in attacking its perceived enemies, and why does it tolerate so much hate speech? We have your Home Minister Amit Shah referring to migrants as termites to be eradicated. In Uttar Pradesh, the BJP's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath promised revenge against those who protested against the Citizenship Amendment Act and said they should be fed bullets, not biryani. Why are these people never reined in by your party or disciplined by your party and allowed to say these things?
Again, I would like to say, if you go by the records, you go on search on internet, the biggest abuse is being used, the words of abuse being used against the Prime Minister. And they are saying that they're not having freedom of speech. The most dastardly words have been frequently used openly on the national media, openly in the press, openly on the street. There was no barrier, no bar at all. On the contrary, you know, the most popular English channel of the country, Republic TV, whose editor has been held by police and questioned for just asking question to a political party. And other journalists has facing, you know, dozens of FIR. Can you quote a single instance in which any journalist who says that he's anti-BJP can face a FIR?
Why do you allow Kapil Mishra, for instance, of the BJP in Delhi? He led a demonstration calling on people to shoot the protesters. Why was he allowed to do that?
No, it is wrong. He has never used the word shoot. I challenge, kindly check your facts. He has used the word, though demonstrators were occupying the road illegally for 1 month. He has used the word, I am saying to police that within 3 days, you remove this illegal occupation, otherwise we will not hear to you. So can you ask, if somebody is occupying illegally the road in front of your house, and if you say within 3 days it is not removed by police, then we will decide ourselves what to do. Where is the shooting?
Dr. Trivedi, in the aftermath of the February riots, in which more than 50 people died in Delhi, most of them Muslims, in the aftermath, there was one of the most telling episodes when the Delhi High Court heard petitions about the riots in the city and asked why the police had not filed cases against BJP politicians who had advocated violence. The presiding judge, Dr. Muralidhar, warned the Delhi police of serious consequences for not investigating statements by BJP politicians. He said, I'm really appalled by the state of affairs of the Delhi police. The court had earlier watched videos of 4 BJP leaders, Kapil Mishra, Anurag Thakur, Abhay Verma and Parvesh Verma, which the judge described as hate-mongering. Hate-mongering. How do you get away from that?
I would like to correct. I think you were correct on one instance. The shooting sentence was not said by Kapil Mishra. The shooting was in the context of Anurag Thakur. But you go by the video, what he said, he raised the slogan, to the traitors of the country. The people said, shoot them. Yes, I agree that when this type of slogans were raised, he should have refrained and stopped the slogan. But he has not used the word shoot them in their sense.
The judge called it hate-mongering. And do you know what happened, of course, to the judge? Days later,
court-
he receives a transfer order at midnight to a completely different part of the country, and the federal law minister says it was routine and agreed by the Supreme Court. A routine transfer at midnight. Do you seriously expect anyone to believe this? You managed to remove a judge who was asking awkward questions about your politicians. That's the sum of it, isn't it?
Now, I want to clarify you, and that will make the point clear. Number one, the transfer of the judges in India is not done by government. It is done by the collegium of the courts, judges. Second thing.
How convenient. How convenient that it was just after he had asked awkward questions.
Let me complete the sentence, sir. The transfer order was done 12 days before. And the judge in question has also given the consent. 12 days before it was done. But it was not executed. It was in a due course. He should have been relieved much earlier. Again, I'm saying it was done 12 days before. That's why I'm saying this is misinformation and propaganda going on.
In the short time that we have left, Dr. Trivedi, I'd like to just talk about the recent battle between Indian and Chinese troops in the northern Ladakh region. Once again, this has raised questions about different versions coming from the BJP government. Where exactly did the fight take place between Indian and Chinese forces? We know that some of the Chinese forces died. We also know that 20 Indian soldiers were killed. Where exactly did this fight take place? Specifically, on whose side of the border?
Prime Minister has made it very clear. Neither Chinese troops were able to enter even an inch, nor any of our post is under their control.
That's not what I asked. I asked where the fight had taken place.
There are perceptual difference in the line of actual control. So line of military control is there. Their troops are there, our troops are there. And in between, there are several kilometers of area, which is a no man's land. So there is an understanding in that area in which the perceptual difference is there. Troops can come and go, but they will not erect any structure, whether permanent or temporary. Our troops have gone. We find out that ahead of their LAC, in that area, they tried to find out a temporary structure. They have destroyed it and forced them back.
So the battle took place where? On whose territory? In the no man's land, are you saying?
It happened on near the Chinese, in the Chinese side, in the Chinese military control line, in the no man's land.
This is where the battle took place with your forces?
Yes. And
so your forces were in Chinese territory or in no man's land? Where were they? Why is this so difficult? Why is this so difficult to tie down?
The demarcated line of military control. And in between, there is a several kilometers of area for which there is an agreement that we will not fire any arm, we will not do any use artillery, and we will not erect any temporary structure. Forget about the permanent. When our troops were patrolling, they found that in that no man's land, ahead of their line of control, there were some temporary structure. So that they asked them to withdraw. They didn't. Then they destroyed that structure. And there the tussle came back and they were pushed back.
So this all happened in the no man's land. Is that right? Is that what you're telling me? It didn't happen on Chinese territory and it didn't happen on Indians' territory. The clear implication from all this fudging is that the Chinese did cross into what you regard as Indian territory, but you won't admit that because you don't want to appear either weak for letting it happen or worse, being asleep on the job and not reacting until it was too late. Which was it?
No. It was very clear that the Chinese troops were there. The position of Chinese troops is exactly there as they were there before. The troops of the position of the Indian troops is exactly there as they were before. And in that area in which there is an agreement that nobody should come, they tried to come, they were pushed back.
Why not just say clearly the Chinese violated your border or they didn't? We had two different versions. We had the Prime Minister saying no one has intruded into our territory or taken over any post. And we had the Foreign Minister who said the Chinese side sought to erect a structure in Galwan Valley on our side of the line of actual control, on our side. In other words, two different versions from two leading figures in your government.
No, there was no difference at all as far as the Chinese intrusion in the land is concerned. Yes, of course, intrusion is there since 1958. They have captured a certain area of our territory in 1962. So for 58 years, they are there in our territory. But now the defined position is their military boundary, military position boundary. So now they are there in their military position boundary. If you say that they are in our territory, yes, they are there in our territory since 58 years. As far as the military control position is concerned, it is not altered. It is same as it was before the.
Sudhanshu Trivedi, thank you very much. I'm not sure that you've cleared up the simple question of where it happened, but thank you very much for your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.